Hi, I'm Reverend Paula Skiles with Unity Church of San Marcos. Thank you for those of you who are online for being with us today. And we are blessed to have India Taylor as our musician, and our guest speaker today is Linda Gillespie, who's a licensed Unity teacher with Unity. And so I turn the service over to them, and I thank you for being with us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What a joy it is to be here this morning for those of you in the room as well as those of you online. For those of you online, you may not have gotten the first part of this talk. I decided to do a three-part talk on that song that we just sang. Open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Place in my hand the wonderful key that unclasp and set me free. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. That was part one. And today we're going to look at the second verse, because hearing and seeing go hand in hand. And the second verse is, open my ears that I may hear. Open my ears that I may hear. Voices of truth thou sendest clear. And while wave notes fall on my ears, everything false will disappear. That's huge for me. Clara Scott, who wrote this hymn in 1895, was, according to everything I have found about her, very prolific in hymn writing at the time, before her untimely death. And this song that we're looking at was written just before her death. When we open our eyes to see, all we see is God. All we see is love. Whatever is available to us is love, because everything is God. Because that's truly all there is. So as we're looking at our ears and our ability to hear, we all know how valuable these two little organs are that sit on either side of our head for hearing and balance. They do more than just bring in the auditory. It brings in balance as well. They pick up sound waves that are converted into electrical impulses and sent to the brain, where they are processed instantly. That takes place right here, right now, as I'm talking to you, as you're hearing other things. My niece Krista, who lives with Pat and I, we're known by one of the members at Unity of New Braunfels as the Golden Girls of Melissa Lane. I can't imagine why. Krista has been profoundly deaf since somewhere between the age of 3 and 6. It was due to a series of infections that involved the mastoid, this little bone that sits right here at the base of the skull. She quickly mastered the art of lip reading, and today you would never know how very little she actually hears. She has tried over the years several different hearing devices to help her. She heard better without them. On Tuesday, after a surgical procedure to implant a cochlear device on her skull, she received her microphone. Which allows her to hear. She was very concerned about one thing in particular, and that was, will I be able to hear specifically Aunt Linda as Aunt Linda? Would I still sound to her the same as I did when I spoke before her device? That was the number one thing, is that people did not sound like they were speaking to her through a toilet paper roll. And they walked through all these little tests to see how things were working. And she asked Laura, the Lauren, the girl that was setting her up with this, she said, would you do me a big favor? She said, would you stand up and face the wall and say something? And Lauren did, and Krista heard. I can't tell you what an emotional experience it was for everybody in that room when this woman was hearing for the first time in over 60 years.
Wow.
It was just one of the greatest gifts I could have received, to be in the room with them as they were experiencing all of that. I have to tell you, she went to the car and I went to the restroom, and as I went back to meet her, I got to the car and she said, did you know that shoes make a noise when they hit pavement? I said, well, yes, I did. And she said, well, it's just totally unnecessary. Well, she might change her mind if somebody slipped behind her in the dark, and she didn't hear them coming. Something else that, walking through this phase of her life with her, in the same house, I have become very aware of how important seeing is to hearing. When she sees something familiar or something that is unfamiliar, she's automatically looking. Where did it come from? Where did it come from? Because she couldn't hear where it was coming from. There was just a sound. Parking lots were particularly difficult. This story could take all day. I've known her all her life. It could take all day. And she's not young. But I share it with you to bring one aspect of our topic this morning to mind, and to point out the connection between seeing and hearing. There is, however, a higher level of hearing that I would like to bring to your mind, and it does not require any mechanical or technological device. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, in The Revealing Word, defines hearing in this way. He says it is the ability to look deeper than words and catch the inner meaning. He that has ears, let him hear. Matthew 13:6. In many places in the Bible that the ear is referred to is not the physical organ, but the listening mind. Fillmore goes on to say, the ear that conceives and really hears is the auditory center in the brain. It is here that the mind grasps and analyzes the sounds and the sound vibrations. In Fillmore's definition, he refers to a brief passage in the Gospel of Matthew. That same passage is referred to in Mark as well as Luke. All three of the synoptic Gospels have that phrase in a category described as the purpose of the parables. Jesus was teaching a large group of people on the beach. And afterwards, the disciples came to him and asked him why he spoke to them in parables, to the congregation in parables, not the disciples. He said in verse 13 of chapter 13 of Matthew, "The reason I speak to them in parables is that seeing they do not perceive, and hearing they do not listen, nor do they understand." Because, as I said, this teaching is found in all three synoptic Gospels, I listen. Jesus tells us the importance of seeing and hearing tells us the importance of seeing and hearing because there is a deeper message. He discussed the importance of seeing everything and everyone as God sees. Jesus said, hearing, they do not listen, nor do they understand, which tells me that we need to listen differently than just with our ears. In order to understand, we have to engage our hearts as well as our minds in the listening process. For me, that means I have to make eye contact with the person speaking in order to listen from my heart as well as with my ears. Rather than thinking about what I'm going to reply to what is being said, I want to be focused on what they are saying so that I can reply with a thoughtful response. Not my ego trying to fix or placate or whatever. Not that. I always want my response to be kind and to follow the context of the conversation. In other words, I don't want it to be all about me. Just because I have had a similar situation or know someone who has, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what this person is seeing, feeling, what their story, what they're relating. In our prayer chaplain training, we are taught to listen from the heart, which is imperative in that role. Everyone needs to be heard. As I was putting this talk together out of curiosity, I visited the HeartMath website to see how founder Doc Child described the connection between the heart and the brain in the process of hearing and seeing. This is what I found. As you bring your physical, mental, and emotional systems into coherent alignment, you begin to experience increased access to your heart's intuitive guidance. Turning into your heart's wisdom creates a profound shift within that helps you approach situations with more emotional balance, compassion, clarity, and personal confidence. HeartMath Institute's research demonstrates that different patterns of heart activity have different effects on your thoughts and behaviors. That is impressive and certainly has piqued my curiosity. I want to know more. And in that wanting to know more and out of that curiosity, I turned to Jesus' teachings again to see what more he might have to say about the matter of hearing, listening with our heart. In Matthew chapter 5, Matthew, aka Levi, in case you didn't know that he was called Levi as well as Matthew, he presents the Sermon on the Mount, which begins with the Beatitudes. All 9 of the blessed bees. The interesting aspect of the Sermon on the Mount for our purposes today is that 6 different times Jesus says to those who had gathered, "You have heard it said, but I tell you." This speaks volumes to me. Just because I have heard something one way, there is another way. There possibly is another way. Jesus said he came to bring good news, new teachings beyond the Old Testament. What that says to me, don't believe everything you hear. As we navigate our way through life, we have all learned the truth of not believing everything we hear, right? Yeah. But what about those things that we heard and saw during our formative years that were innocently believed to be absolute truth, that we are continuing to use to operate our lives, which no longer serve our highest good? It's kind of like what we were talking about when we were talking about the human family. And Paula was explaining that moving from the Old Testament teachings into the New Testament, I'm not sure what word you used for that progression. For me, it's the evolution of faith, of the spiritual path that we are all on. I so appreciate Don Miguel Ruiz's description of the process that he calls the domestication of humans. He likens it to the way we domesticate our pets, which is all based on a system of reward and punishment. Now, it's not the same rewards or the same punishment that we might use for our pets, but it's still the same rewards and punishments nonetheless. Through this domestication, we are taught how to live our lives. The information comes to us as children during those formative years from our parents, our siblings, our teachers, and in this world today, it comes to the children, where? Internet, TV, all kinds of random places. And all of this information that comes to us in those formative years becomes our way of living, our belief system. That's what our whole belief system is based on. Because as children, we learn to be good girls and good boys. When we did what our parents wanted us to do, we were rewarded. When we went against the rules, we were punished, and soon we became afraid of being punished and not getting that reward, which was generally acceptance by our teachers, our siblings, and our friends. With the reward and punishment factor in place, we began to pretend to be what we are not, just to please others. Our normal tendencies got lost in the domestication process. Eventually, we became our own domesticator, using the same belief system, regardless of how flawed it might be, as our modus operandi, that way in which something operates or works until it doesn't. When life doesn't seem to be working the way we want it to, we begin to look for something different. Sometimes this is where addiction comes into play. And it creates a whole new dimension to our lives. Or we may look to a spiritual path rather than a religious one that influence the process of human domestication, in which many of the beliefs that we are working with right now no longer serve us. So, what now? What are you hearing? Are you hearing voices of truth? Or are you hearing some old belief that it's time to release? What about that small, still voice? Or that gut feeling or intuition? I believe that they are all a part of those voices of truth that we're talking about. How do we know if the aforementioned voices are voices of truth or the ego, wanting to have its way because it's the way it's always been? For me, I have to go within and ask the questions and wait for the answer. If the answer doesn't come immediately, I continue to wait. Trusting that the answer will come. Most of the time, everything seems to fall into place without me having to do anything. Sometimes the answer comes as perfect peace. As the days are getting shorter, like some other animals, bears and squirrels come to mind, we find ourselves being drawn into a time of solitude. Fall and winter is a perfect time to look deeper within at what we honestly believe. Instead of searching for the next TV series, the next football game, the next New York bestseller list book to distract us from what the voices of truth that is calling us to come up higher. That place where everything false will disappear, as Clara Scott refers to that place of peace that passes all understanding. That's the place where everything false disappears. When we are at peace within ourselves. I'm going to invite you to get a notebook, a pencil, or a ballpoint pen. Personally, I prefer a pencil. There is something soothing and therapeutic about the sound of lead paper. Lead on paper as you're writing. Could that be one of those voices of truth? That lead on paper? It is for me because it's soothing and it's therapeutic. Give yourself some time each day from now until Christmas to question some of your old beliefs. This is not one of those things that you just do and you're done. I promise you it's a lifelong quest. We keep asking the questions and more is revealed. A good starting place might be to write the words of the chorus of this song. Silently now I wait for thee. Ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, my ears. Illumine me, Spirit divine. What better gift could you possibly give yourself at Christmas than that peace that passes all understanding? As we move into meditation, I invite you to take those words. I really love spending Sundays with you because it's everyone in the room is actively participating in what they're hearing. And that's a gift to yourselves and to me. So I invite you now to just get really, really comfortable. India, do you have a song for us before we move into meditation?
I can.
Well, it's up to you, honey.
Okay. Yes, I do. So before meditation, I'm going to prepare by singing Get Ready, My Soul. By Daniel Naiman. Get ready, my soul. I'm driving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm driving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest
India,
You're welcome.
I love the synchronicities that occur when we just trust. We didn't talk about it. She showed me what she had brought that she might use, and I just trusted her, and what a perfect way for us to move into meditation by knowing that in meditation we are readying our soul. And so as we just breathe, we say, thank you, God, for this time together. And we relax into our seat as we just let it support us and trust and know that all truly is well with my soul. All is truly well with my soul. Silently now, I wait for thee. Ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my ears and my eyes, that I might see and hear. Illumine me, Spirit divine. And we allow these words to move us into that silent place where we listen with our heart. I invite you now to bring your mind and your body back into this time, in this space. When you're ready, open your eyes. And we say thank you. Thank you, God. So it is. Amen.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, India. We appreciate you both for such a wonderful service, and we welcome anyone who has been fed and nurtured to offer a love offering to our church, and we appreciate you being with us. God bless you.